All right, everybody, back with another one. Today we're going to be taking a look at some, um, quick posts on Instagram and, maybe TikTok if we have time to get to all of them today. But we're going to be taking a look at, this is just going to be more of a loose episode, fun, not too long, probably about a half hour or so. And we're just going to take a look at some stuff on the internet. Topic of discussion today is basically going to be a continuation on stuff that I've talked about in the past, where we explore a lot of what people are posting on the internet today and explore the validity of a lot of that information. So I've said this before, time and time again. There are so many people online today. There's millions of people, myself included, and they're doing all different types of, things, podcasts, hour long, 2 hour, 3 hour long podcasts, and then also down to like quick TikTok videos that are kind of like Vine videos from back in the day, where they're a couple seconds long. And the thing about the human brain is we will take in information in short bursts and then create scenarios and storylines and all different, adding all different pieces of information that don't exist. And we will add that to what we saw. It could be a 6 second video. That's why they say like a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth, you know, X amount, 10x more. It's because our brain takes in so much information from a video that it creates additional pieces of information to add to or fill in the gaps for what was left out of the video. What I've noticed is our brains tend to do this more with short form videos than they do with long form videos. With long form videos like a podcast, you tend to just sort of listen to the host, speak about a particular topic, and then you will either agree or disagree with some of the things that that person's saying. And then you might add in some details in your mind if there's, maybe you agree and you're relating back to a memory you have that validates that whatever the host is saying, or you disagree and you have a memory that contradicts that, whatever it is. But with short videos, for some reason, people tend to add in so many more pieces of information that were not presented in the video. And they also kind of come to conclusions. They complete, um, you know, scenarios in their mind and they sell themselves on what they saw, not only being a fact, but also being a conclusion to a topic or a question or something that was actually never raised. And I'm gonna try and make some examples of some of the videos that we're gonna take a look at today, and hopefully make that make sense. But I just want to take a look at a couple of short clips and explore some of what people are posting online. I hope I got a variety of some of these things because they're different topics. They're about different things, and not all of them are in relation to each other. So hopefully it's diverse enough to show you it's not just with one topic or one industry or one influencer, but this is like a recurring trend on the internet. This is where I say the reason I'm doing this video is because I see this becoming a problem in the future now that we're introducing AI. And what's happening is I do this now. I actively practice this now. AI will give you information that the public has already accepted as fact, not understanding that the algorithms for the AI are programmed by people based on information that is available on the internet. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of information that's still not available on the internet because it's, stuff that maybe hasn't been transcribed or uploaded to the internet yet from history. But there's also new information that's coming out now from our modern day research that has not been added yet to the internet, obviously, because we're not there yet. That those studies are not completed yet. And that is information that the AI will use in the future to correct some of the information that they have now. Now, that's not abnormal. We do that now. We've done that throughout history. If you have a textbook from 30 years ago from school, you will take a look at it and see there are, some stuff that's listed as facts in there. We absolutely do not believe that today. And that's normal. Like as we grow and evolve as people and learn more and just figure more things out, we will update our knowledge and our knowledge base. So that is completely normal. But I see the problem is the AI is grabbing information from the internet and it's regurgitating it back to the people. Now, I think that what it might be doing is it might be taking the most popular information and using that as its answers to people's questions rather than the information that's the most correct or the most accurate. I don't know this for sure, but this is kind of the trend that I've seen just using some of the AI tools that are out there. And I won't give you an example, but I will say that I've had conversations, it's really a one-sided conversation because I'm talking to basically a robot. So it's not like I'm having a real authentic conversation, but I've had conversations with ChatGPT, for example, and I have asked it questions about things, and it will tell me immediately an answer that I know is wrong. And I will go back and I will say, no, that's actually incorrect. Have you seen this data? You have this information? Have you looked at this law? What about what this court case, the verdict of this court case was? And then ChatGPT will actually agree with me and tell me, like, you're right based on this new information. We can say that this is the answer. And it's a 180 change. But if I didn't give it that additional piece of knowledge, it would not have been able to not only correct itself, but give me the correct answer that I was looking for. So I do see this as a recurring trend, and I'm sure many people who play around with these AI things have done this before. It's not unique to me, but it is getting a lot of stuff wrong. And that's the problem. It's going based on information from either the most popular sources or the most accepted by the people as they agree this is what the truth is versus it actually being the truth. My wonder is it gonna start doing that, or is it already doing it by grabbing information from people on the internet that are just posting things that are not true. And then what happens is you get sort of a wildfire because I will see this with a lot of people, and a lot of it has to do with content creation, which is why I don't post too many videos a week because I want my videos to be authentic and I want my topics and information to be unique, obviously different than what most of the marketplace is bringing. But also, I want to be able to do the research on things. I want to be able to clearly articulate what my points are and back it on deep thought and doing the research to make sure what I'm saying is valid. So a lot of times there's like a content machine. People will just keep cranking out videos or posts and they don't even care after a while if it's true, if it's factual. They will just do it because they need the content to fill the dead air so that they can continue to grow their audience. And on one hand, I actually understand that because from a business model's perspective, there's two types of products. There's products that are based on quality, and there's products that are based on quantity. And look at the stuff that America used to make. It was quality. It lasted. There are toys, children's toys, that are made of wood and metal that are sold at, garage sales or, like those American Picker show things all across America that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And they still last today. That's because they were made well, quality. But then you have a lot of stuff today that's made in China and some of these other countries, and they're made to break because it's a quantity game. The margins are low. The price for the product to the consumer is low. So they have to keep getting the consumer to reorder the products over and over again when they break so that they could keep generating repeat business. It's a design, it's a plan, it's a strategy, it's a business strategy, really. And the problem with that is, yes, you do continue to get a customer who keeps rebuying your product. But after a while, people get frustrated with things continuously breaking, or they just decide, you know what, this product was supposed to make my life easier. It's actually making it harder because I keep using a product that keeps breaking and I have to keep rebuying it. I'm going to find a different method to achieve my goal. And eventually, people do stop buying your products. I believe it's always better to go with quality, but whatever. Same thing with content. You see on the internet, it's flooded with content from people who are saying things that could literally start with one person saying something that they either think sounds correct or sounds true, and then posting it out on the internet. And other people say, oh, I think that sounds true too. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to put my spin on it, recreate it in my own way for my own content that matches my brand. And then I'm going to re-put that information out there. And over time, you get enough people doing that. Now you have something that people believe to be a fact just because enough people are shouting it on the internet. I wonder, is the AI going to start picking up on that information? And because so many people say this is a fact, it's going to take that as a general consensus that it must be a fact because so many people are saying it's true. So many people are saying this is what this is. So we're going to tell people who ask us that's the fact. because we have enough information to claim that it is. Even though maybe the research wasn't thorough or, there's not any like studies that back it, there's a chance that the AI could be putting out false information because the people that feed the system are putting out false information and either no one's checking them or people are just scrolling through, reading that, consuming that information, taking it into their brain, storing it as a fact, and then moving on to the next thing because it's just a continuous scroll. They're grabbing all this information on the internet that's not factual, or maybe is partially factual, and they're keeping it in their brain as though it is a fact now. So now you go to and have a conversation with somebody, you go to a party or whatever, and you strike up a conversation and you're telling them something that is not true. And now they believe it and it's in their brain and they're carrying it around with them, telling other people. This is how misinformation or disinformation gets spread. And I'm not saying everything has to be backed with, studies. Like not everything is a scientific study. Some stuff is just learned knowledge from our elders. Some stuff is just common sense, but for the most part, a lot of things can be factually proven or not proven, but there can be a theory that is the general consensus because there's enough information that leads us towards believing that that could be true. So I'm not trying to belittle any of these people when we do look at these videos. I'm not trying to say that they're lying. I'm not trying to say that don't watch their content because they're wrong or they're, idiots and they don't know what they're talking about. I'm simply just trying to make the audience aware that when you look at stuff, don't just blindly believe it because it could either, not be true or there isn't enough information to prove whether it's true. So it's just a theory right now. But then there's also a section of society that is putting out information where they're saying they're giving people advice. And it could be on stuff like, the trend lately is, people on social media are telling people, how to invest in real estate or how to start a business and what to do and this and that. And they're giving all this information that, you know, it could either be true, but it's for a very small group of people that really understand what that information is and how to use it, how to apply it. Or it could just be something that's not true. And people don't find out that until they tried it, wasted money, wasted time, wasted energy, and now they have regret. I listened to some random person on the internet. I mean, it's their fault they acted on it, but they're listening to some random person on the internet and they're applying it to their life and making, choices that could cost them years recuperating from that mistake. So I just want this video to serve as just look at things with an open mind. Don't keep it in your brain as a fact just because you saw it on the internet, just because somebody took the time to craft a video and make it seem really good using different tricks that Hollywood uses to make it more believable. Keep an open mind, but also don't buy into everything. Let things be. Let things leave things as is. One of the best things we can do to really understand whether or not something is true from God is to take it in and then leave it alone. If it's a fact or if it's important to you, God may likely reveal it to you along the way to validate what you heard or learned or figured out, something that you came to the conclusion of. God may show you that that thing is true by applying it to your life somehow. So sometimes it's best to just let things be, right? Take it in, absorb it, but don't believe into it. Don't buy into it. Don't get 100% sold on it. Even this content, even the stuff that I put out, don't just blindly believe me. Because again, I'm just some random person on the internet. Listen to what I have to say. If it applies to your life, great. Maybe it benefits you. If not, that's fine too. It's not for everybody. But also do the research, find out if what I'm saying in many of these videos, I mean all of them really, is true. Some stuff is just my opinion. Some stuff is just me saying based on life experience or common sense. This is what I believe, but it's a belief. It's something that I've bought into. You don't have to buy into it too. And that's the thing. The people who are posting the content, they're not really doing something wrong unless they're just creating content to pump out, a lot of materials so that they keep the algorithm going and keep the people subscribing and engaging. If that's their goal, and they'll even blatantly put out lies, just to generate audience growth, then no, I don't agree with that. But the people who put out content that actually believe in what they're saying, even if it's not true, they've bought into it themselves. I don't think they're doing anything wrong or malicious. I think they bought into something and then they're putting it out in the world and they are sharing it with the world because they believe in it. And they're saying, hey, this is something I figured out. Maybe you'll believe in it too. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can choose to believe it or not. It's up to you, you know? But I always just tell people, be cautious what you buy into. There should be very few things that you are 100% sold on in life because life's a journey. We keep growing, we keep learning, and a lot of times in our youth, our arrogance is we can sometimes because we're so curious about the world and about life and things that we haven't learned yet that we're learning for the first time, we can sometimes blow with the wind. We can sometimes say, get into this thing and then do that for a little bit and say, not for me. And then get into something else and do that for a little bit and say, you know what, I found that that's not true. And get into something else. And you hear somebody online, now you become part of that thing. And it's funny too, because like there's like almost like a cult mentality with the internet where there are people who have followers, which the whole concept is kind of funny because Jesus is the only person that's supposed to have followers. But all of this language is used in a certain way to create like a cult-like leadership where you have people who, they create a brand essentially as a business. And then people buy into that brand. But then they start to identify with it. They start to buy the merch and they start to, say the same lingo, the same catchphrases in their own personal life that that person says online, or they, just start to take on a little bit of that person's identity, which, I understand. It's understandable. Sometimes you get interested in something or someone and you're like, oh, wow, I kind of like what they're doing there. I want to model that in my life. So I'm not saying it's totally wrong. I'm not saying you can't buy somebody's merch or something. I'm just saying be aware of what you're doing, and be aware of what you're learning, what you're taking in. Now, I don't want to go off too much on a rant, but I want to take a look at some of these videos, just give a little bit of feedback, and hopefully give you a different perspective of how to look at things on the internet. Um, because I think people get tripped up sometimes. And I'll do my best to make it hopefully make sense. But yeah, that's it. Let's jump into it now. So let's start off with this video. This is a video I saw where it looks like people are dyeing some sort of vegetable. I guess it's carrots, orange, and then the person in the video, which is just a voice, is telling people don't buy carrots because this is how they're made. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so that is a pretty clear video. Some sort of weird brown vegetable and somebody's throwing orange, I guess, coloring on it, and it's apparently staining it and making it orange. So if you're looking at this video, first let's read the caption. They are coloring parasites and using dirty environments to mix the colors in with the carrots. If you have been eating carrots throughout your life, you need to use an authentic parasite cleanse that will cleanse all the worms in your gut. You can get one in the link in the bio. Okay, so clearly to me, when you read that, the intention of that post is to be shocking, make people click on it, and then drive people to the gut cleanse product that they have in the link in their bio. Now, I understand that to an element, to a point. There's an element of PR to that, which is basically just like, or marketing rather, which is basically essentially like clickbaiting the person and not really clickbaiting because they are showing in the video what is in the thumbnail, but they're getting your attention right away saying, stop eating carrots, big red flag. And then you see something weird in the video. You're like, what is that? You click on it. And the whole purpose is to get you to believe that this is how carrots are made and that it gives you parasites and then to buy that person's cleanse. I understand it's a business. They're trying to make money. They're trying to drive people to their links to buy their products. I do the exact same thing. I'm not against business and I'm not against driving traffic to your products to sell your products, especially if they can benefit people. What I don't agree with is the way that they went about this video. And this is what I mean about your brain adding information that's not true to the context of what you're watching. What this video is basically telling people is stop eating carrots, and then it shows this. Your brain is putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and also from their what they wrote in there in the description that all carrots are made this way. Carrots are actually not orange, they're brown and they're gross and they contain parasites or they're like dyeing them with parasites. I don't really even understand what they mean by adding parasites into the carrots. And then they're using their feet to do this. I have no idea what country this is. I have no idea who these people are, what they're doing, but our brains will tell us. We get carrots in America shipped from overseas sometimes, and this is how all carrots are made, either overseas or everywhere in the world. And that's disgusting. Oh my God, I have parasites in my gut. I have to now go and take this product and do a parasite cleanse. And your brain added all that information that is not true based on a 10-second video. So let me jump into this now. These are gardens all over. If you've ever met a farmer or a gardener that grew carrots before, ask them if carrots are naturally orange because they are. There are other colors too, purple, there are white carrots, there are yellow carrots, there are, carrots that are more like a deep purple, but when you cut them open, they have like a yellow ring in the middle. There's all different types of colors of everything. We grew up too thinking that everything was one color because for some reason, somewhere along the line, the food manufacturers did away with the other colored items to, I guess, control the market and make it where everybody just got comfortable with one thing and there was no differentiation. Everything was like clean and nice and pristine. And that's where we got into, a lot of this like factory farming and stuff like that. But, I'll give you an example as like eggs. Our whole childhood growing up in the 80s and 90s, people thought eggs were white. No one had ever seen a different color egg unless you grew up on a farm or something. If you grew up in a city or, big community, you probably went to the grocery store, got eggs, and they were always white. And like the only egg company I've ever heard of was Eggland's Best, which literally dominated the egg market. I mean, every grocery store that I can remember had just that brand of eggs, and they were all white. These are not just white. And as we've seen over the last 2 decades with Whole Foods and some of these, natural food markets that work with local farmers, they have all different types of eggs. Brown eggs have actually taken the shelves by storm. I think more brown eggs probably sell now than white eggs. If not, it's very close. Could be like 60-40, who knows? But there's brown eggs. There's green eggs, which is funny because, we had that whole Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham. There is actually green eggs. There are even blue eggs. So there's a bunch of different types of eggs, and they're all natural. They're not made in a lab. They're not fake. This is how things are, in nature, right? Carrots too. Carrots sometimes could be big like this. Sometimes they could be small and fat. Sometimes they could be split where they, there's like two of them conjoined, like Siamese twins. This is them literally pulling carrots out of the ground, and they're orange, Again, they could be many different colors, but carrots are and are mostly orange by nature. So they sell you this idea from that video that carrots are dyed orange, and that's how they're made. And this whole time we've been lied to. And that's what I mean. Your brain will connect that dot. Your brain will add that lie as context to this. This whole time I've been lied to. Carrots are actually gross and I shouldn't be eating them. Now, it's such a simple, silly thing that I'm ranting on about, but it's important because it's part of a greater problem. People will watch videos online and immediately be sold on something that is not true or partially true. If you just do 2 seconds of research, you will see that it's not true. But they'll just keep scrolling, and now their brain will retain that information as now a fact. So that's one example. So here's a different example, and this has nothing to do with food. This is somebody giving, I guess, financial advice or relationship advice, however you want to, view this. Just to give it context, it might be one of the worst pieces of financial advice I've ever heard. If you're talking about relationship advice, I can agree with elements of it, but not all of it. And it's on the internet, just some random guy. We don't know who he is. There's no context on that. Just some guy, and we're going to watch it and then we're going to talk about
it. From your last vacation?
I'm telling all my friends and relatives, go on many vacations with your spouse. Go to fancy restaurants. It's so much cheaper than therapy. Therapists, $300, 45 minutes. They have nothing to tell you. They have nothing to sell you. They don't know you. They don't even pay attention. Go on vacations. Go to Broadway shows. Go to fancy restaurants. It's the best investment. Don't bring your kids. Leave them with the babysitters. Enjoy your spouse's company.
What inspired you to say that, Clappy?
I just went on a nice vacation. It's very important. I got to do it more often. You got to do it more often. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just do it. Take out your credit card, call your travel agent, and just book. Everything else will fall into place. You must go on vacation.
Spending time, or it has to be vacation?
You have to get away from your normal 9 to 5. You have to be in the right atmosphere. You got to be in a nice vacation. It's got to be in Italy. It's got to be on a cruise. It's got to be away.
Let's say you can't afford it. What do you do?
You borrow money. You borrow money. I'm telling you, it's cheaper than anything else. Invest in yourself.
Cheaper than divorce, right?
You're the best investment. We don't use the D word. We don't use it.
Okay, so let's break that down. He started off by saying, go on vacation. Everybody agrees with that. You work hard all year, you deserve to go on vacation at least a couple times a year, once or twice, to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? But then he went in a different direction and said it's cheaper than therapy. So there's a couple problems with that. From a relationship perspective, going on vacation won't solve your problems if you're having relationship problems. It'll give you momentary happiness to make you, maybe take a step back from your problems and enjoy, you know, be in the moment and enjoy life with your significant other. And maybe for a moment, you won't have those problems. You'll just enjoy each other. But vacation is an illusion. Vacation is not how you live your everyday life. And if you feel good when you're on vacation with your partner, your spouse, whatever, but you don't feel good in your everyday life, your brain is going to tell you to always go on vacation because you guys are happy when you're on vacation. And that's the problem you're having in your life. You need to get away from your life and be in vacation mode. That's bad advice because you're never actually solving the problem that you're having in your relationship. You're just putting a band-aid over it temporarily. And then you're always going to seek that release, that escape. So you're going to run away from your life instead of running towards a vacation to enjoy a nice time. That's a problem. And I think any good marriage counselor probably would not give that advice. The other part is he's saying it's cheaper than counseling. Vacation shouldn't be an alternative to counseling. It should be something you do because you and your family are taking time to enjoy each other's company, go away, take a break from your everyday life, not run from your problems. If you're having issues in your marriage, you definitely need counseling, maybe, if that's what you and your spouse want to do. You're going to need that anyway, regardless of if you go on the vacation. But also, to add into that, he gave bad financial advice. Go into debt for a vacation. That is one of the worst ways you can spend money and take on debt. Now, every once in a while, people do need to take on debt because you have to, you can't get out of it, right? Like most people will never be able to afford to buy a home cash up front. So if you want the home, you're going to have to take out a mortgage and then pay down that debt. That's a debt. Maybe you get into medical debt because you had an injury or an illness that your insurance didn't cover or fully cover, and now you have this bill that you have to pay and you can't get out of it. So is it better to, not pay the bill and get into all kinds of issues with legal trouble? Or is it better to take on the debt and then just pay down the debt and deal with that problem? So sometimes things may come up in your life where you don't want to, but have to take on debt. Taking on debt for luxury or things that are not necessities is a horrible decision because you're taking on debt, so now you owe somebody. But on top of that, you're paying interest on that debt, like 9 out of 10 times. Every once in a while, they'll do like 0% APR, but that's a short-term thing. Let's say you wanted to go on vacation and it was going to cost $5,000. And he says specifically not cheap vacations, expensive vacations. So Italy, cruises, things like that. Those usually run several thousands of dollars. Let's say it takes you 6 months to save up 5,000 and that's what your trip costs. Why not just save up the $5,000 and plan for the vacation like a normal person? That way you get to go on the vacation and you have no debt. Why would you tell people to take out debt to go on a vacation? And then you come home and you're stuck now paying back the vacation. So you enjoyed that vacation, but now you have stress of having to pay down the debt for having fun. So it almost ruins the fun that you had. And it could last a while, and the interest tax on, adding insult to injury. Now you keep having more and more money owed on the trip that you took one time. It's bad advice. That's not good advice. But for some reason, this person is saying, do this because he says so. I can't see this as good relationship advice or good financial advice at all. Now, there's elements I do agree with. You do need to take breaks. You do need to take time away from your life and your everyday routines and go enjoy each other's company. But if your family's not functioning correctly anyway, a vacation is not going to fix that. Vacation's for people who earn vacation, who deserve vacation. You go on vacation because you worked hard, you saved money, and then you take a break and you go enjoy yourselves. If you're not in a good relationship or a place in your relationship, vacation is not going to help that. And you might not even enjoy the vacation because now you're there with the person that you're not even happy with at home. So why would you be happy with them there? There's a lot of problems with this. But again, bad advice from the internet that some people might actually act on because he sounds authoritative and he says it in a way where it sounds like, oh, he just came from a vacation, so he's credible. I can't see this as being good advice at all. No offense to him. I don't know his situation. I don't know what he's been going through in his life. Maybe he felt really good after this vacation. Maybe it did help mend some things in his life or his relationship. I don't know. But it seems like bad advice overall from a relationship standpoint, a financial standpoint, and just long term. So yeah, that's another one that I definitely think is bad and would be careful believing into and then acting on that advice. So here's another good one, and I see this a lot on the internet, not just from this guy, but from a lot of people. The new American dream. Paid off vehicles. Check. Great. Love it. You should own your vehicle outright if you can. If you absolutely can't and you need to do a finance or a lease or something in order to, get you to the next level in your life, there are exceptions to that sometimes, but the goal should be to own your own stuff. It is and it has always been the American way. So yeah, that's a great one. No consumer debt. Absolutely, totally in agreement with that. You really should owe no one anything, and it's never good to be in debt. Again, there are always exceptions to the rule because every once in a while things come up, but if you can, no consumer debt. Emergency fund for 6 months. Now, this is sounding a lot like, Dave Ramsey and that whole tribe, and it's great advice. You should have an emergency fund. We've seen during COVID, there were a lot of people, just within the last 5 years, they were out of work for quite a while, and a 6 month fund would have really helped them, get on their feet and get to the position of getting another job or finding something to work from home during the time that their business was closed for COVID. So all great. Love the top three. Rental portfolio bringing in $10,000 a month. Okay. That's not the new American dream. First of all, being a landlord can be an extremely difficult thing. And there's a reason why there's less landlords than there are tenants. Because first of all, if everybody's a landlord and everybody has properties bringing in 10,000 a month, then there's really no need for renters anymore. So there would be no need for landlords, which is like a vicious cycle. There are going to be renters and there are going to be landlords. And not everybody's going to be a landlord and not everybody is going to be a renter, right? But not everybody can be a landlord. Everybody can be a renter because, renting is easy. You pay the rent on time and you take care of your place and you'll be fine. Being a landlord is extremely complicated. There's a lot that goes into it. You have to manage the business end of it. You have to manage the property. You have to manage all the finances. You have to maintain the property and take care of it. You have to know about, you know, having the right team around you for lawyers and accountants and, property managers and you have to know, what's in the lease agreement, how to negotiate the lease agreement the way that, works out for you and the tenant. You have to know about, the market, what's going on with the market. You have to have brokers in your corner. There's a lot of moving parts. It's not as easy as everybody's just trying to make it online. And I've actually seen this time and time again where people are having buyer's remorse because they listened to something on the internet about, doing a BRR or whatever, BRR, three R's, and doing fix and flips and all these things. And they have no experience in it. And they go into it because the internet keeps selling them on it. And then they are upside down on their deals. They're getting foreclosed on. They're in receivership. They have all kinds of issues because the internet didn't explain to them the downside of not having the knowledge of knowing what the hell you're doing when you get into that industry. And this happens a lot because people get excited and they get rich quick scheme eyes. They look and go, all they see is dollar signs. They say, "Oh, I want to get into this because other people online are making money doing this." Truth is, a lot of people that are posting this stuff online are not making money doing it. They're making money selling you on their coaching or getting your viewership by listening to their content. There are a select few that are actually making money doing this stuff, but they're professionals. That's their entire game. They're in that industry, and their whole channel and everything is about it. And they have a company, and they're backed in what they're doing, and they're reputable. So those are the people I would look for to listen to. But most of the good ones, if not all, are going to tell you, don't just jump into this. Do your research. This is not a game. You got to really make sure you know what you're doing. Do the research, find out, take their course or whatever, learn the ins and outs of the industry and how to, do everything with that specific business. Then when you feel ready, go ahead, jump into it. But, now at least you have knowledge backing you. Not everybody's going to be a landlord, but a lot of times people will put this, renting, rental portfolio bringing in 10K a month. That's very hard with single family, which is what I assume this is. And it gets even harder if you get into commercial or multifamily because that's a different animal than just having a single family home that one family rents. And a lot of times the profit on that is very small. It could be $300 to $500 a month. Let's just say something big like the hot water heater or the furnace or the roof has some sort of repair that is needed in the year, and that costs a couple thousand. Well, that's all of your profit for the entire year. So, one thing could go wrong and it could cost you a year's worth of you profiting from that business, and then you still have to work on the business and take care of the problem and deal with the tenants, and you're not even getting paid anymore for the rest of that year. So it's a really difficult business to be in, and it's not for everybody. So if you do decide to get into it, do extensive research first. Maybe work with people, work with a broker, but also consult with people. I think this is another big thing that I don't know if people used to do it or if they, I don't know. But this is one of the biggest things that the rich differentiate from the middle class and the poor. Yes, they're very knowledgeable. Yes, they take courses, they have mentors and things like that. But a lot of what they'll do is they'll utilize consulting services. They'll hire people who are experts in a certain area and get their advice from them, right? It's the reason we have lawyers. You could represent yourself in court if you really wanted to. You legally are allowed to. Why doesn't everybody just do that and save the money on the legal fees? Because the law is so extensive. It would be damn near impossible to know how to deal with that situation without first doing thousands of hours worth of, research and studying the law and different cases that have been, you know, closed in the past that set precedents and things like that. So you seek a lawyer for their counsel, right? That's why they're called counselors. It's the same thing with other stuff, financial services, accountants, you know, real estate services, whatever it is, maybe go and pay a couple hours to speak with a professional in the industry you're looking to get into. Pay them. Hey, I want to learn more about your industry. I want your undivided attention because I really want to. I'm thinking about getting into this, but I want to really know the truth before I get into it. And I know your time is money, so I'll pay you to save me thousands of hours of research on my end. And here's another huge thing that people don't think about. Because a lot of times people, when they don't have a lot of money or they don't have money, they look at that as, I'm not spending that for somebody to just tell me something. Yeah, but you have to understand, there's many different types of currency in this world. The predominant one is money because that's what we use. Time is probably the biggest currency because you trade it for things, but you never get time back. Money you can get back. In fact, money you can get back bigger and better than you had before. You can grow your money. You can invest money in something and then it returns to you even greater. You will never invest your time in anything and get more time back. You can invest money in things and save yourself time, which technically gives you time back. So that's like the only way to actually earn time is to pay money for it. But you will never get time back in any other way. So if you decide to spend hours doing something with your time, make sure it's going to be worth your while in the long run. But if you don't have that type of time or you don't want to spend that type of time doing that thing because you're dedicating your attention to something else that makes you money now, pay somebody to cut that time down in your life, cut the learning curve down to get that information from them quickly and immediately instead of just jumping into, now I'm a landlord because some guy posted about it on the internet. Why don't you consult with a broker? Find out about the market, find out about, information about real estate deals that maybe you didn't know about. consult with a real estate consultant. Those exist too. Consult with attorneys to find out what all that stuff would look like, taxes and, what your profits might be if the deal looks like this, and so many other things. So long-winded answer, but I really don't like that one because it's not for everybody. Now, it is for some people, and I'm in that industry to a degree, but I just don't want everybody to think that everybody can be a landlord because it's just not possible. If everybody becomes a landlord, that means that everybody owns real estate where they rent it to people. But if everybody owns real estate where they rent it to people and they're profiting $10,000 a month, they could probably buy their own home. So they're not a renter themselves, which means if everybody's a landlord, and they're not renters, then there are no renters because everybody's not a renter, they're landlords. So then the landlords can't be landlords because there's no one to rent their spaces, their units, right? It doesn't make any sense. Everybody cannot be a landlord. That's really for people who are really into the real estate industry and they want to make it a part of their career life. Next one, $100,000 a year flipping houses. Another huge thing. Flipping houses is extremely difficult. And this is a lot more like timing the market, the time in the market, which is more what being a landlord is. Being a landlord is like long-term investing. You buy and hold. Being a house flipper is short-term. It's like day trading. You're buying a property at a certain price, maybe renovating it, which costs money, and then hoping to flip it again for an even higher price. But you have to guarantee yourself that you're going to be able to accomplish that goal. And you won't know until you put the finished product up for sale on the market. You can get ideas and stuff with comps and things like that, but you'll never truly know until you get the product on the market. So it's an extremely difficult game. And a lot of it's based on the current economy. If the economy switches during the time you bought the home, renovated it, and now are ready to put it on the market, and there's a change in the economy, it could cost you that product. Because maybe you have a short-term loan on it, which has a higher interest rate than usual, and no tenant, and you're not living there. That's costing you money out of pocket every month to maintain the property until it sells. But if the economy changes and no one's buying, you're stuck with that property and you're stuck with the loan and whatever else. And it could be costing you money for months, if not years on end. Who knows? And you might even sell it at a loss just to get rid of the problem so that it doesn't get any worse. But now you're out thousands of dollars. It's an extremely risky game. So unless you really know what you're doing and it's your passion in life, I would say no, most people shouldn't be flippers. Very few people should be flippers, even less than landlords. So that's just my own personal opinion, but I've seen a lot of horror stories with that. Many people went bankrupt getting into the flipping game because they didn't know what they were doing and they took huge risks thinking they'll get rich because they saw every house I sell, maybe I'll make 50,000 here, 25,000 there, 100,000 there. It sounds nice, but anything that gives you that much of a profit does not come easy and not without a lot of risk. So, house on an acreage. Well, that's a nice thing too. And there's a lot of land still left in America, a lot more than there are people in the whole world. So, there's a lot available to people. And actually, land itself is pretty cheap. It's the homes, it's the property, it's the structure. That's what's the costly thing. So, that's a great thing. I like that a lot. Unlimited time with family. That's a bit of an illusion. You can't have unlimited time with family. You can have selective time with family, and you could create your life in a way where you manage your time appropriately so you dedicate enough time and attention to your family. But this idea of everybody retiring at 40 and spending all their time just hanging out, having a good time, it's ridiculous. Because if that's the case, who is actually supporting the economy if everybody's not working, right? The people in their 20s and 30s only, they're supporting everybody 40 and up. Doesn't make any sense. It's not feasible. It's not realistic. And look at other countries where they've retired early, like Greece, for example. The average retirement age is somewhere between 49 and 55. Not 100% sure of the number, but it's very low. And their economy sucks. They're like a bankrupt nation because everybody wants to just hang out, relax on the beach, and live an easy life. Life is not supposed to be easy. That's why it says in the Bible, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Life is supposed to be difficult to some degree, and you're supposed to struggle. Struggle creates growth, but you're not supposed to suffer. There's a difference. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on all that, but I like some of what he says. There's a few things I don't like, which I mentioned, but yeah, like I said, there are some partial truths. Went a lot longer than I thought we would, but let's take a look at one more of these, and then I think we're going to wrap it up.
I've seen on Instagram a couple times that the number one predictor of your child's well-being is the happiness of their mother. And so what do we do as a dad if that's true? I've seen it a few times. Yeah, even if it's not true, heck, what a great thing to pursue, right? What do we do as dads? That means one of the primary jobs you have is not just to provide and protect financially and physically, it's emotionally recharging your wife. It's emotionally being encouraging. It's emotionally giving her less to worry about, less anxiety. That's one of the ways you can directly affect your kids is help your wife be more happy. Define what that is, have a great conversation. Hey, what are the things that make you happy? What are the things that you worry about? How can I contribute to that? And if you can help your wife be more happy, it directly affects the health of your children forevermore. And we get to play, as dads, as husbands, we get to play a massive role in it. It's not all your fault. Some people just can't be happy, right? But you can actually contribute to the environment that makes your wife happy. And if you can, do it, because so much relies on that.
All right, so this one's one of the probably the oldest lies. Happy wife, happy life. Now, let me start by saying he said in the beginning exactly what I've been talking about. He said, I saw on Instagram a lot. This is what people say, the biggest predictor of your child's happiness is the happiness of the mother. So he's telling you right away, I saw something online and I believed it in my mind, and now I'm going to regurgitate it to you, regardless of whether or not it's true. And I'm not even going to back it up with any research or facts or, digging into this a little bit. I just believe it, and then I'm going to add to it. So he's telling you right away he's buying into something that he saw online. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And he acknowledges it and admits it. But no, the happy wife, happy life thing is not true. If you can find me in the Bible where it says that a man should strive to make his wife happy and that her happiness should be the ultimate goal for the family because then the children will be happy too. I would like to see something like that because I read the Bible and it's not in there. What you want to do is you want your family to be at peace. You want your wife to be at peace. You want your wife to be, of course, happy and, of course, in a good mood. But the goal shouldn't be to strive to please her and make her happy. The goal should be to strive to please God. And as a family, make God pleased and do good works in his honor. Then your wife will be happy because she'll be at peace and she will exude that in her mothering. What you want to be careful of not to do is try and make your wife happy in the ways that she may think will make her happy. Because a lot of times people fall into this trap where they try to please their spouse by giving them the things that they want versus the things that they need. You're not supposed to have the desires of your heart alone. You're supposed to have the desires of God's heart that He wants for you. And then you will ultimately want them too. That could be as simple as peace, love, joy. It could also be, helping others, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. It could be, just doing good works in this world and not to try and earn your way to heaven, but to please God by taking care of his people. But if you give into the desires of what makes you happy, that could be anything. That could be, well, my wife loves to drink a glass of wine every night. So every night I'm going to pour her a glass of wine. I mean, to an extent, that's fine. But if your wife struggles with alcoholism and that's what she really likes, it makes her happy, then no, you have a bigger problem on your hands. You need to talk to your wife about dealing with the issues that she's having so that she doesn't need to rely on alcohol. You don't feed into that because it makes her happy momentarily. If your wife loves shopping and she spends all kinds of money on things that make her happy, like clothes and things like that, but you guys are broke, that's not doing the marriage or the family any good. So no, you don't want to give into your wife's happiness in that moment in order to satisfy her so that she is in a good mood and then is nice to the kids or whatever. Yeah, you might not have a life issue, but you're gonna have a money issue. And that's also gonna negatively impact the kids. So no, you should never just seek to make people happy because people have all different kinds of desires that make them happy. And you don't want to lead with that. You want to make people happy by doing good things for them and being kind to them and sharing the message of God, the gospel with them, spending quality time with them, things like that. But you don't want your goal to be to make people happy by giving them the desires of what they want. That's not a good goal and it's not biblical. So no, I don't think this is great advice. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad advice because there's elements of it that are true. Like, yes, you do want your family to be happy, but really more you want them at peace. You want them to have joy. Joy is more long-standing happiness in the sense that you are grateful, you're appreciative, see the bigger picture that God has laid out for you. Happiness tends to be more momentary, where, you know, going on vacation, like the guy before, and you're excited about that. Okay, that's momentary happiness. And then when you come home, you're upset. Well, that's an up and down roller coaster in life. You're not supposed to live that way. You're supposed to live like a normal level mindset of, I'm happy to go away, but I understand when we come home, I'm not going to be depressed because I enjoyed myself. I got to enjoy the time that I was there, make good memories. Now we're going to go move on with life and remember that time. So yeah, I'm not really crazy on that about that advice. But again, there's a lot of videos like this on the internet. I mean, millions by now, and it's easy to see this stuff and just scroll past it, but you'd be surprised how much of it you might be retaining in your mind as truth. So anyway, I just used a couple of examples. Didn't expect the video to go so long, but just wanted to give my take on this and hopefully, make some of these observations aware to people that, really just don't believe everything you see on the internet. In fact, don't believe most things you see. And if you are curious or interested about something that you did see, do a little bit more research on it. Maybe you do get to the bottom of it and find out what the truth is, or maybe you don't. It just becomes a theory, and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna believe this. I'm gonna accept it. But just be mindful of what you look at out there, including my content. If you see things that I say that you don't believe or agree with, that's fine. I always say to people, you can put anything in the comments as long as it's not belligerent, you're not, being disrespectful or being violent or threatening or anything like that, or inappropriate. You can say whatever you want in my comments. You can, tell me that you agree, disagree, whatever. No problem there. Do your own research, think for yourself, keep an open mind, but just don't believe everything you see. And try not to go down so many rabbit holes because you could spend your time doing a lot better things in life. And before you invest your money in something, make sure you really, really know what you're doing. Don't just go in blind because you'll learn lessons, but you'll learn lessons with that money that you're going to lose. So, yeah, just all food for thought. But anyway, that's it for this video. Don't forget to stay for the ad at the end. Take a look at some of the products that we have right now. Big sales going on. Take advantage of that stuff and stay tuned for the next one. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son. And it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now. And like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throwing your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future. And I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.